Amen. And I'd like a moment of silence. May we have a moment of silence for all the victims, the families, and the communities that have been affected by the recent shootings. Thank you.
Please remain standing. A friend of mine's grandson tragically died. 4.5-year-old Kieran John Nee. His father Sean. His grandfather Chris Nee, and Sarah Huff was the grandmother. Tragically died the other day. Tomorrow night they're going to have a fundraiser at the golf course, Brigantine Links. So if anybody can make it, they would certainly appreciate it. And funeral services are tomorrow at the Presbyterian Church. So if I can have a moment of silence for Kieran John Nee. Thank you, everybody. Please be seated.
This is to advise the meeting notices covering this meeting have been sent and posted as required under the Open Publics Meeting Act.
Thank you, Lynn. I need approvals for the July 20th council meeting minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Any questions? Seeing none, can I have roll call, please?
View?
Yes.
Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Mayor Simpson?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Just want to welcome everybody here to our August 7th, 2019 council meeting. We did not have executive session tonight, and we're going to move right into the agenda. I need approvals for payroll and expenses, operating expenses. I need a first and second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Can I have roll call, please?
View?
Yes.
Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Mayor Simpson?
Yes.
Motion carried.
I'm going to open up the meeting to the public. Anybody want to come up and speak anything on agenda items only? Agenda items only. Say that real quick. Yes, Mrs. Phillips.
Good evening. Ann H. Phillips, 308 27th Street. Just 3 items. Under the water and sewer bond ordinance, will this complete the process of installing remote water meter, the reading of the water usage by remote control?
No, Mrs. Phillips, we're actually trying to get a grant for that, for the remaining water meters.
But I did see remote water meters under the backup material.
Go ahead, Jim.
Mayor, what is in the capital ordinance for remote water meters is to start replacing the servers and other maintenance equipment for the remote system. We have a separate project we're looking at to actually fund the meters themselves.
What percentage of the city is now read remotely? I know some of it's...
Couldn't even hazard a guess.
I think before Mr. Doring went out on medical leave, he told me this would be the last. He was trying to get a grant for it, and he was having our grant writer write one up.
But at least a decade ago, I believe part of the city
Yes,
was done.
You're correct. Yeah.
So at this point, if you get the grant, this will complete the process for the whole city?
Finish the process.
Yeah, well, that makes sense in terms of manpower usage.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Correct.
who determines water and sewer infrastructure improvements? I know you vote on them, but who actually determines which improvements will be made?
City engineer?
City engineer and
City
the superintendent of public works, after they consult with the folks that they work with, they compile a list of problem areas, repeat problem areas, and items that are due for replacement.
Okay, just a suggestion, not only for the water and sewer bond owners, but also for the other one. For public information, you're going to do road work improvements. I think the public would be interested in knowing. It isn't in the backup listing as to which will be done. And this would also, I think, be true for infrastructure improvements. We'd like to know what's being done, because frequently you do read about municipalities that have problems with over-aged and deteriorating infrastructure. And I think the public would like to know what's being done, what the bond money will cover. So I would simply say, put what information you have in the newspapers, and especially for roads that are being repaired. I think we'd all like to know, especially if we're one of those who wants one. I don't, but nevertheless. Okay, ordinance number 15. I imagine this has something to do with what happened at the Cove, although perhaps I'm mistaken. And the word "may" is used as to what the judge may do. I would like to ask for your consideration of using the word "shall," which is a requirement, and having actually a greater deterrent effect if the person has to restore, particularly private property that's been destroyed in violating the ordinance, and also forfeiture of that permit, which is something that a lot of people place great value on, and if they lose it, it might be a greater deterrent than simply going to jail, which I don't think it's going to be will happen, or a fine of less than $1,000. So I ask that you look in terms of that ordinance substituting "shall" in place of "may." Not at the judge's discretion, but at something that would be mandatory. Since we do have problems, and I believe this was one way you're trying to address them. Also, what is an interlocal services agreement? Program, income, housing, rehab program.
That's just if somebody needs help with appliance, a door hung or something like that, we help them.
You and the Atlantic County Improvement Authority?
Mm-hmm.
Is this something that has been done before under another name?
Did we have that last year?
We've had it for a couple of years,
Yeah.
Mayor, and Mrs. Phillips, it's low income.
Low
It's
income.
not just for anybody, it's for a low-income property owner, homeowner, primary residence.
Okay, and who makes that decision?
We have to pull out the parameters from the county program itself. They set the guidelines, and we just agree to assist with it.
Was this done with the county before?
It's been done here since at least 2016. I don't know how long
Yeah.
the county's been doing it.
Okay, I just wondered why it was something new, I guess, or another way of approaching the problem?
Well, with the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ann. Anybody else? Seeing none, can I close the public portion? Okay, ordinance number 12 of 2019, public hearing and adoption of capital bond ordinance for municipality. I need a first and a second.
I'll make that motion.
I'm gonna open up to the public. Anybody who wants to talk about the bond ordinance? Seeing none, I'm gonna close the public portion. Council? Okay, can I have roll call, please?
You,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Mayor Simpson,
Yes.
motion carried.
Ordinance number 13, 2019, public hearing and adoption of capital bond ordinance for water and sewer. I need a first and second.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, I want to open it up to the public. Anybody want to talk about the bonds we're getting for water and sewer? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public portion. Anybody from council? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
You,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Mayor Simpson?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Pickleball people, I'm moving as fast as I can. I'm going to get to you. Ordinance number 14 of 2019, public hearing and adoption, amending the city code, chapter 234, as related to parking lots. I need a first and second, please.
So moved.
Second. Going to open up to the public. Anybody want to talk about parking lots? Not pickleball things, parking lots. But, we're going to close that portion. Does anybody from the council have anything? Seeing none, can I have roll call, please?
View,
Yes.
Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Mayor Simpson?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Ordinance number 15, 2019, public hearing and adoption, amending the city code, chapter 105, as related to beach and recreation facilities. Need a first and second?
So moved.
Second. Anybody from the public want to? Go ahead, Jim.
What we've done here is we've modified the section of the four-wheel drive permits that gives the police the authority, when the issue is summons for a violation, to temporarily seize or confiscate or void out a person's four-wheel drive permit. Once it gets to court, the judge can then decide to either suspend their privileges for the remainder of the year or return their privileges to them.
Okay, Jim, regarding where you said void, I just kind of had a note myself here. Do we want to put that verbiage in there? It says may temporarily remove, like almost like an inspection sticker, or...
No, we won't actually...
There, we can just void it physically?
We won't physically remove the permit itself. We will void it in the system so that if they try and go
System when
back
it's
onto the
scanning.
beach, when it scans, it'll pop up as a voided permit.
No, that's something different.
Okay, any other question?
Well, it says may temporarily remove a permit from a vehicle. It doesn't say anything about changing it in the system. It talks about physically taking the permit,
Ask the...
out of the vehicle.
Let's see if we can do it as amended then, and add the verbiage to it.
Mike?
Yeah. We'll change that to
Or
may
void.
temporarily void a permit.
Void or remove, whatever you want to put in there, maybe...
Well, we don't want them to actually remove the permit, because if they do, then the police have to keep it.
I'm only saying that because you had the word, not you, but those
That's-
words were in there initially.
That's why we're going to change it to the
I'm good
word
with void.
void.
Very good, very good, thank you.
So we're going to leave it at void?
Wait a minute. Mike's going to have to give us the language now.
Temporarily void.
void the permit from the city's computer system.
So, Mike, we're not going to leave the language about the owner, so we're not voiding the owners as well, right?
Okay.
So, Mike, we're going to need it as amended?
Yes.
Roll call as amended?
Well,
Aye.
If you make a
before we get to that, Andy, I'm sorry, I thought we were still getting public comments. I have one other question I wanted to ask.
No, we're out of public comment.
Okay, so now we're on council...
Yes,
wisdom?
council comments, because Dennis jumped right in.
I think Ann made a pretty good point. As I'm reading, so I hadn't really read this that closely before. I think she was looking at the first section, Section A, where we are, or would be, authorizing the municipal court, but not in the mandatory. We're saying the municipal court may require the offender to restore damage done to public or private property, and the municipal judge may require forfeiture of the beach vehicle permit authorized by the article. Because I'm not coming up with them, what's the argument in favor of making it discretionary rather than making it mandatory? If you do damage, you fix the damage, and you lose your permit if you're found guilty.
I believe that's how the Section A, the ordinance currently reads, and I assume it's to give discretion to the judge to weigh, I guess, any mitigating factors and the extent of the damage that was actually caused.
I would agree with you, Mike. I think May is, we should just stick with the verbiage we have. Like you said, gives the judge, gives some latitude and discretion, like you said.
How's the rest of the council feel? You okay with the language that's in here now?
I guess the question I would have is, should we give that discretion to the judge to make the decision? You know, and I guess my understanding is if it says the judge shall, does that force the judge's hand? Because there could be extenuating circumstances or things we don't know. You know, should a judge have an opportunity to hear the evidence and to make a reasonable determination as to what penalty or penalties should be applied?
I agree.
Well, here's the thing.
Go ahead, Mike.
I mean, if the judge, before he makes his decision, the judge will decide if there was a violation. If there wasn't a violation, then he's not going to enforce the penalty. If there is a violation, then he shall take away the permit and fine him $1,000 or whatever the cost is. So I don't see a big deal with the shall. Right?
So
Before the judge makes...
You want to keep it the way it is?
I think it's fine the way it is.
Okay.
Well, look, I'm not going to argue the point because
Yeah.
probably not worth it, but just so we're clear, if you read the way it's written now, the shall part applies to the imposition of a fine and alternatively
But you don't know.
imprisonment in lieu of a fine, but it doesn't mandate any loss of the permit. That's the part that's in the second portion of it that's discretionary. So right now, upon conviction, and of course, yeah, you're right, there's not going to be any penalty if a person hasn't committed the offense in the first place. But the question then becomes, what are the consequences when you are found guilty? It's a definite consequence of a fine or possibly some jail time. That's the only definite that's in there. So I understand, you know, because I deal with it myself every day, judge's discretion and the importance of allowing for it where appropriate, but I'm having a hard time coming up with a situation in which a person could have committed, or would have committed, or found guilty of committing an offense that also resulted in some damage to private or public property, and we might want to let that person skate on fixing the damage that they caused.
Yeah.
I don't know why we would do that.
Well, I could see the way you're thinking about it, Rick, and I'm up to leaving it to the discretion of our legal advisor here, our lawyers.
I mean,
city
ultimately,
lawyers.
I think it's a decision as to how council wants to move forward, but my recommendation would be, if you want to take it to shall and mandatory, to remove it from, the judge altogether, because ultimately it would be council revoking that permit on the finding or the guilty plea of a violation of the regulations of the permit, rather than dictating to the judge, this is what occurs because it's your permit issued from council to Kansas City. Sorry.
Mike, do you see a problem with the way it is now?
No, I think it gives some discretion. Again,
Okay, it sounds like the majority of the council would like to leave it in there. So we'll leave it that alone, but we have to make a first and second on the amendment. So I need a first and second.
What's the language of the amendment? Because I know we talked about it.
Michael's read it
Section
to us.
B shall state, notwithstanding the above subsection A, a sworn officer of the Brigantine Police Department, an officer of any duly appointed law enforcement agency of the state of New Jersey or its subdivisions, a member of the Brigantine Beach Patrol, or any special enforcement officers designated by the city manager, director of public safety, or chief of police, may temporarily void an individual's permit from the city's registration system, pending disposition by the municipal court of a charge or charges filed by such law enforcement authorities upon a finding of probable cause that the owner of the permit and/or persons occupying and using the licensed vehicle are violating any municipal ordinance or law of the state of New Jersey and thereby causing a dangerous or disruptive condition.
Okay, I need a first and second from what Mike just said.
I'll make
So
that.
moved.
Second.
Okay. That kind of raises another question, though. We have a whole long list of people who could, before we empower them to remove a permit, which kind of made sense, because physically, if you're going to remove the permit, these are the people that would be in proximity to the vehicle. They'd be the ones that saw the violation. But how would members of the beach patrol and even the police and others void permits? Shouldn't we empower the manager to void the permit, and the manager can decide, what level of information he needs in order to void a given permit? So police see somebody's committed an infraction, they tell him, give him the particulars, and he can void the permit.
I'm comfortable with having the police having issued a summons, or the beach patrol having issued a summons, or whomever issues a summons. If they issue the summons, that brings in Section B, and I think it's just fine for the chief or his designee to get out of the beach fee office or call the beach fee office and say, void this permit number in accordance with incident number, whatever. I don't think that I need to be involved in it. That's a law enforcement job. That's why we're putting this in there, so that we can have something for the police to use immediately in a situation.
And because it's based upon their finding of probable cause.
He's new. Okay.
So the only thing we would change then is make temporarily void in B, is that what you're saying?
Yes. Temporarily void the permit of the individual from the city's registration system, and I can send you the revised ordinance.
Thank you.
Okay, did we have a first and second?
We did, yeah.
Okay, can I have roll call, please?
View,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Mayor Simpson,
Yes.
motion carries.
Now we got to vote on the ordinance itself. And we already had a first and second on that. So can I have roll call, please?
View,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Mayor Simpson,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, resolution 2019/141, interlocal service agreement with ACIA Income Housing Rehab Rehabilitation Program. And your first and second.
So moved.
Second.
And this is for, like we said before, I hate using the word lower income, needy people that need some help. ACIT and Brigantine's going to join up together and help the needy. We have any questions? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
View,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Abstain.
Reardon,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Mayor Simpson,
Yes.
motion carries.
Resolution 2019-142, authorizing professional service at Stockton Coastal Research Center. Can I have a first and second, please?
So moved.
Second.
This is what we do every year, Jim, with the
Yeah,
research, on the tides and everything?
Dr. Farrell's group comes
Dr.
in
Farrell.
to do our beach monitoring for us, our erosion monitoring, present us any solutions with any issues we may have. They also consult with us when we're looking to do projects on the beach or for the beach. And they're currently using some of their data right now to help get our CRS stuff together.
Great. Any questions? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
View,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Reardon,
Well, I'm happy to vote yes, because they've done such an excellent job in the past, helping us with the information and telling us how, what a great job and what beautiful shape our lush, strong dunes are in, so I vote yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Mayor Simpson,
Thanks, Mike, for that lovely way you put it. Yes.
motion carries.
Resolution 2019-143, awarding contract Lighthouse Circle Sewer Replacement. Can I have a first and second, please?
So moved.
Second.
This is the collapse line from Bayshore Avenue to the Lighthouse, I believe.
Yes, Mayor, and it also includes Brigantine Boulevard from 34th Street to 31st Street. We have some old transite pipe.
Right.
And that it has collapsed. We have temporary fixes in there, but it has to be rectified before we get started with the Lighthouse Circle project with the county.
Great.
This is for the design and construction management of the project.
Okay. Any questions by council?
Yeah, Jim, anytime we get a couple prices and there's a big spread and sort of a matter of concern, and we have kind of a spread here, it's like, looks to be maybe a difference of 25% between, or maybe up to a third, between the two lowest prices and then the other two are out of contention. The nature of the work and the description of the scope of work to the low bidder, are you comfortable that we're not risking, change orders as soon as they get into the construction management, or if we, adjust even a small thing in our design criteria?
We are pretty confident. Both Matt and I spoke with the folks from de Blasio. We explained our reluctance to get deep into the change orders. We understand that, some happen within a given percentage on any job that takes place in Brigantine, because you never know what you're going to get when you open the ground up. But that being said, Matt was pretty detailed in what needs to get done and what's going to have to be done on their part as far as the design and construction management, and they were more than confident, as was Matt, that we would be okay with this and keep our change orders to a bare minimum.
Have these guys done work for us before?
This is their first project for us. De Blasio is. They came onto our list, I believe, in January of this year. I don't think they were on last year's list.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Hearing none, can I have a roll call, please?
View,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Mayor Simpson,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, we're going into our consent agenda. Women's Surf Fishing Club event request, 11th Street North block party request, and Kirkwood Circle block party request. I need a first and second.
So moved. Second.
How can you call so mo- It's you. You can't vote on your own block party.
Hey. No.
Yeah.
All right.
Mike says no.
I retract my move.
Okay.
All right.
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
And then who seconded it?
Paul.
Okay.
Anybody but Reardon. Any questions?
Yeah, should the block party be separated out from the consent agenda so Mike could vote on the other ones, but not the block party?
No, he can abstain until letter C.
Just making sure.
Okay. And I'm sure we won't need his vote anyway. Can I have roll call, please?
View,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Okay.
I'm going to vote yes, but I did have a question for Mike. If the Kirkwood party runs till 10 and your bedtime is 9, how's that going to work?
Well, can you come from 9 to 10, Rick, and take over for,
I'll be happy to cover for you.
Maybe a swinging party.
Thank you.
Reardon,
Yes.
Abstain
You have to
per se.
abstain.
I'm being forced to abstain reluctantly to letter C.
Sarah,
We can
Yes.
close, please.
Mayor Simpson,
Yes to A and B, no to C.
motion carried.
I made a mistake in the beginning. I would like to have everybody stand for a moment of silence. Fred Cerny's, our attorney's son, died today, his stepson, David. So, if you don't mind, I apologize to the Cerny family. Thank you, everybody. Karen, you wanna go first? You're in the first ward.
Okay. First word really took a hit yesterday in the rainstorm. I couldn't get out of my house to go get my hair done.
Me too.
No, but it drained very quickly. We were thankful that it hit at low tide and everything drained pretty quickly. I understand the golf course is very, very wet, extremely wet. Hopefully we'll have a couple days of dry weather and it'll be back in the great shape it's been in. So much stuff was going on over the weekend. It was between the triathlon, and I'm sure the triathletes were really happy with the paving all the way around, East Shore, North Shore, West Shore drives. It made it so much nicer for them riding their bicycles. It's been an unbelievable summer so far. And if anybody has issues with rentals in your neighborhood, we just want to remind you, call the police department. If you're having noise at night, late at night, if you're seeing activities that aren't necessarily acceptable in your neighborhood, call the police. If they're leaving trash all over the place, please let us know. Call the fire department, the fire prevention office, the property management office. Let them know, and we will definitely keep an eye on them and get after them to clean these things up. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Paul?
I received several texts and emails regarding the North End Beach, and people were upset about the possibility of that changing over to non-dog walking. The only thing I can say, we're working on it, and we certainly feel your grief. The problem is we need your support also, okay? You need to keep your dogs on a leash. You can't run wild, and you need to clean up afterward. I was down and asked a few people, and they said that they had found droppings and stuff on the beach after a weekend, and it may not necessarily be Brigantine folks that are doing this, but the folks here in Brigantine are getting together and asking us to keep that beach open. I implore you to police yourselves. It'll go a long way. The other thing is the crosswalks that we've tried so hard to put in. People have been parking across them. I don't know how they don't see the white marks on the ground when you pull up and park. You get out of your car and just walk into the pirate stand or walk up onto the beach. The police have been very receptive. I've been called them several times myself, and they came down and ticketed the cars. And it's not an inexpensive ticket. So be aware of that also. We had a great weekend with things that went on. Last night, the night out, nice turnout. A lot of free food, a lot of free ice cream, a lot of free exhibits, and I think everyone had a great time. And that's all I got.
Well, Paul, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to say right in front of everybody, I have no intention of changing anything that's going on down there as long as the people continue, like you said. You police themselves, take care of the dogs, make sure they're on a leash, and we'll continue on the way it is right now without any complaints or anything like that. So the only way we'll look at it again is if there's complaints or anything like that. So I just want to make that public. Dennis?
Well, our triathlon was a big success this past Saturday. I think Jim was originally, before we had about 170-some people. We ended up with 470, was it? Or
It was a little over 450, yes.
a little over 450. It was beautiful weather. It was a great turnout, and I just want to thank our police and fire departments for all the great work they did, and some special thanks to our public works for setting everything up, and also especially to our beach patrol for the great, awesome job they did in responding to whatever they needed to respond to. Additionally, I'd just like to touch on the Food Truck Fest, which was down at also in the 3rd Ward at the 38th Street Beach. That also was a nice success. We had great weather, a little hot, but everybody dealt with it, and it was for its first year. A lot of good stuff happened down there. There were 17 trucks, and everything pretty much went off without a snag, and continued through both days. So we thank the good Lord for the good weather that we had. And just one other thing I wanted to touch on that we've talked about before in council was just the project from Atlantic City Electric with the steel utility poles that are going to come in through the 4th Ward, Rick, and then into the 3rd Ward. They're going to run down to down our main thoroughfare down to 38th Street, and they're going to loop around Bayshore and come back. And I think the method in which we're doing it is the right way with the above-ground poles. And I don't know if anybody, how much we touched on the fact of the cost if it ever was to go underground. We're all going to have to drive down that road when this project does begin in the fall of 2020, which seems like a little bit far away, but we all know how quick time flies. So in the fall of 2020, it's going to begin, and I think May of 2022, I think maybe they're shooting for that as an ending time period for the whole project. If we were to go with anything underground, it would be a huge cost. I think some of the estimates, and this is somewhat unofficial, but I was talking to the people there, it could be as much as 5 to maybe 8 times more than what it would cost for the above-ground poles. If we were to do something well, let me say this: in Summers Point, not Summers Point, in Stone Harbor, they had some issues down there, and maybe some of the people maybe would have liked to have had it underground under 95th Street Causeway. However, the median home value in Summers Point, in Stone Harbor, excuse me, is roughly about $1 million more than what we have here. Actually, more than $1 million. So the ability of those folks down there to handle that and their tax bills would be less of a burden, let's put it that way. Whereas here, we've always been working to keep our taxes down for everybody, and we would probably have to work on like a bond in the probably $30 million range or something, or maybe even more than that.
40,
something like
$40 million.
$30 to $40 million.
That was
$30 to $40 million.
Like
Yeah. So, and it was something like that. It also might even, with carrying that extra debt, that burden, that also might decrease our bond rating, which we've worked so everybody here on council and our city managers and our engineers, everybody who's got their hands in that in the most positive of ways. We've worked so hard to get that. So, I just want to just give everybody a heads up on that, and that we're moving forward in the right way. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Rick?
Thank you, Andy.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rick. I just wanted to add that I haven't really received any calls yet on this, and I did touch base with Rick that day, and I don't think you had at that point, but at some point in time, I'm sure we will. I'm sure we're going to hear about it. So.
Thank you. And I just want to echo what Dennis just said, and Dennis knows what he's talking about. That day when Atlantic Electric made the presentation, he was there for I don't know how long, and when I saw him, he was actually, I think, revising some of their plans for them. So I echo what Dennis says, and it's a good project, and it's very well thought out, and the economics of it makes sense, and frankly, there's no other approach they could have taken that would have made economic sense. Beyond that, I'm going to yield the rest of my time to members of the public who want to talk about the dog beach and/or pickleball, and if anybody can comment in a way that combines the two, even better.
Thank you, Rick. Michael?
This last Thursday night, we had a trip down memory lane sponsored by the Brigantine Cultural Arts Commission. We had over 100 people down there, and a few speakers that are here on the dais tonight. Lynn Sweeney did an excellent job. Vince had some history of the Pirates in Brigantine, and the mayor had some great stories from the past. One of the most memorable, enjoyable stories I had was when an elephant got loose back in the day, and got loose, and some lady called up in the middle of the night and said there was an elephant in her garden eating her tomato plants. Could they do something? So that was quite enjoyable.
When the Republicans came.
Other than that, we have some stuff going on with the Economic Development Commission promoting Brigantine. I don't know if anybody's seen our billboard out there out on the expressway. That's there for a couple months. I've been getting a lot of positive feedback about that.
Exit 28.
Exit 28, saying, if you haven't seen it, it basically says, why sit in traffic heading south on the Parkway when you can be in Brigantine in about 20 minutes? Almost 20 minutes. Drive fast. So that's that. Other than that, it's good to see our chairperson for the green team here, Jeanette Kessler. The farmers market's doing an excellent job, like they have over the weekend. I'm sure Jeanette's going to speak, so I'm not going to say any more about that. And then Friday night, we have there's a halfway to St. Patrick's Day, almost halfway to St. Patrick's benefit at the Cove Restaurant in the parking lot, outdoor. And it's, there's a donation, a little donation, and it includes burgers and dogs and stuff. And it basically want to raise a few dollars to pay for the pipe band and stuff for next year's parade, which is March 21st, the Saturday after St. Patrick's Day. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention the Columbus Day parade coming up, because if Frank's giving me the look here, that's October 12th. We're planning it to have a October 12th Columbus Day parade. So, and that's about all I got right now. I want to thank the police for doing a great job for National Night Out, and the fire department. That was phenomenal last night, and that's that.
Give a little shout out for Kieran Nee for tomorrow night.
Yeah, had the unfortunate circumstances there with poor Kieran Nee. The family's well known here on the island, and you know, it's just that's real tough. So the service is tomorrow at 11 next door at the Presbyterian Church. Then a repast afterwards, and we put together a benefit for him over at the golf course, and can go over any time after the repast. It's officially 5 to 8, but that little boy was just, as anybody knows, as being a parent or a grandparent, he was here several weeks ago and golfing in a local golf outing, Betty Boop tournament, and they won the tournament, and he hit a birdie shot, putted a birdie shot, and to have something like this happen is just, you know, it's awful. So if anyone can come on out and support, whether you're watching at home or here tonight, I'm sure the family appreciate it. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Michael. Vince? Sure.
First of all, I want to give a big thank you to everyone who was involved with the National Night Out. And I've been to a number of National Night Outs across Atlantic County, and Brigantine, hands down, is the best. And we have so many great events that go on here in Brigantine, and I really want to thank all of the people involved, all the volunteers, the community businesses. It's amazing to see how much goes on here. It really makes it, one, a great place to visit, but an even better place to raise a family. So I just want to thank everybody for everything they do to make Brigantine as special as it is. Wanted to let people know that we have the 4th Ward meeting coming up. Andy and I will be hosting that. It's going to be 9 a.m. Saturday, August 10th. That's this Saturday, and it's going to be at the community center. There's a number of people who have reached out because they've actually missed the other ward meetings. Anyone from the island is welcome, full or part-time resident. If you have questions and you want to know what's going on, the community center this Saturday, 9 a.m. And actually, I had a request too. Someone had talked to me, there's, I guess, trash blowing out of the city yard from where, I guess you know where that gate is by the salt storage bin?
Yeah.
I think that's been open on occasions, and some of the trash has been blowing out of the yard and blowing into some of the neighbors' properties across the street, and they asked if we could look into that.
Okay. I'll have George on tomorrow.
And then one other thing I wanted to bring up too, just to kind of put it out there, a number of residents on our island have received a newsletter, and it has to do with nextdoor.com, and people wanted to know if that was a legitimate business or a scam, because the letters have been slightly different depending on where you are on the island, and I didn't know what it was.
Deputy Mayor, it is a local, I guess, slimmed-down version of something similar to Facebook. It's a neighborhood website. It's completely legitimate. They've been around at least 5 years that I know of. They have message boards. They have a place where you can post and ask questions You know, if you have a leaky roof, you can ask your neighbors who they went to get recommendations, things like that. It is totally legitimate.
All right, perfect. Now, it's good to know a lot of people were just, you know, with a lot of people being scammed nowadays, people wanted to be safe.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
That's all I got.
Okay, thanks, Vince. Our tax bills came out. Hope everybody's happy. Taxes aren't due. We extended it because they were out a little late to September 3rd. You can pay your taxes without penalty. Our taxes went down this year $326,000. As Mike Reardon reminds me all the time, the taxes went down for the last 4 years. Our county tax actually went down 2.35%. City tax went down 2.55%. Our school tax was flat. Overall levy tax went down 2%, and that was $626,000 that the city of Brigantine saved. So we're trying to hold taxes. We're trying to keep everybody, trying to keep the city nice. You know, we've got a lot of infrastructure going on. You know, as we just passed a lot of stuff this year, but as debt falls off, as we pay debt off, we put it back on this and try to keep the same amount to keep the budget going the same direction, you know. And, but we need to take care of the streets. The streets are horrendous. And Atlantic City Electric, like Dennis said, we got telephone poles going to go up 75 foot. I want everybody to realize this, that new poles are coming in Brigantine. And we had open houses with the electric company twice now. So if anybody has any questions on that, you can reach out to the city manager's office, and he'll get you in the right spot to talk to Atlantic City Electric. But it's something that the city needs, and the estimate to go underground, like I mentioned to Dennis, was $40 million. I've been in negotiations with Atlantic City Electric about a year and a half now. We've been talking about this. So I want everybody to realize that our landscaping is going to change coming into the boulevard and going down 38th Street and then going down Bayshore Avenue, where they're going to rebuild their substation. I know you guys are here about pickleball and everything. I want to just tell you, like I talked to you guys out there before, I hear you. This council hears you. We are in the process. Yeah, I'm going to bring you up. We're in the process when Mr. Doring gets back off his medical leave, and we're going to continue on whatever we promised before. If we're going to do pickleball, if we're going to have a court, I don't know where he's at in the process of getting the grant and everything. So I don't want to sit here and tell you something I don't know. And Mr. Bennett doesn't know. I asked him, where we're at in that process, and said John Doring was working on the grant, and I know they weren't too excited about putting pickleball with the tennis courts and everything like that, but we can work around stuff like that. So I'm going to open it up to the public. So anybody wants to come talk about pickleball, dogs, or...
How about let Jeanette come up and talk about it?
Wait a minute. Jeanette's going to come up. Got a quick presentation.
Thank you so much. I just want to give each of the council members one of our Woodstock 50th anniversary Brigantine Farmers Market T-shirts. I see some of our wonderful volunteers here today as well. I wanted to leave one. Thank you. And thank you all for your continued support, especially Karen, who is our council member, and Rick, who is a dutiful volunteer on our breakdown committee. I'm inviting any of you, yay to all of you, any of you to come next Saturday, not this Saturday the 10th, it won't interfere with the 4th Ward meeting, next Saturday, to be judges for our brownie contest at the Woodstock celebration. So, please feel free to
What's in
come
the
down.
brownies? What's in the brownies?
I don't know. I'm not making them. I don't know. But really, thank you for your continued support of the farmers market. And I just want to say that the farmers market just reached 4,769 followers on Facebook.
Beautiful.
And the CER has caught on to that and is tagging us in everything that they want to actually get out to a big crowd. So it's all good. Thank you so much for your support.
Right.
Jeanette,
Let's get it to
Thank you.
5,000.
The lady first.
I was just going to say, I want to see you guys next Saturday. Not this Saturday, next Saturday. At our farmers market, where is it?
okay. We'll be there.
You got it, Frank.
Jeanette, thank you. Green Team meeting tomorrow night.
I didn't know we had a
That's
threat there, you know? Yes.
Deb Schlesinger, 1006 Bayshore Avenue. First of all, we were all here in March, and we're back again. But we all want to say thank you first, because the courts were really greatly cleaned up from the condition that they were in January. They were black with mold, large cracks, weeds growing up, and we thank the city and Public Works for coming in and making the courts a much safer, playable area. That being said, I spoke with Lee Mandel. Lee Mandel was the face of tennis in Brigantine for 40 years. I asked him about the history of the courts. These are, for the most part, original courts. They're almost 40 years old. The first 4 were built along the parking lot, and then 5 years later, he actually said, I know it's 5 years later because I have a picture of Megan Duran playing tennis, and she was only 3 years old. The last 4 were put in. The average life expectancy of a tennis court is less than 10 years. So these have lasted 4 times longer than the life expectancy. When we left this meeting in March, we had a petition of almost 300 people. Almost 50 more people have signed that. The pickleball community is exploding in Brigantine, as well as the tennis community. We're asking for, as we said before, dedicated pickleball courts. Right now, the pickleball players have to go into the little shack and take out a net. If the shack is closed, they can't play outside, plain and simple. So after Labor Day, they will not be able to gain access to those nets. We are the only community along the East Coast that we know of that do not offer our residents dedicated pickleball courts, and we as tennis players would like to join together to have a new surface that you can imagine after 40 years, the technology has changed greatly on a tennis court and pickleball court, and all live in harmony together. My concern is that when we spoke, I have emails from different people within the government, and they talk about a grant. I know that when there was the community development, that grant took over 10 years to have that grant, the monies received to do those improvements. There doesn't seem to be a sense of urgency within the city to improve something that should have been changed years ago, and then to add these dedicated courts for a group of people that are using the courts all the time. My plea to you as city council is to fix the courts and put in dedicated courts, and not have to wait for a long time for a grant. That is all of our concerns, that it will go on, and that seems to be the excuse. After March, there was taping of the pickleball courts that needed to be done. And we were told by the person who was filling in for Mr. Doring that a federal grant was being looked into to tape the courts. That the pickleball players would have to chalk the courts every time they went out. So please, hear us. These courts are used by teenagers. There aren't a lot of activities for teenagers to do on this island. There's a huge junior program. We're not juniors, all of us that are playing, but we're very, very active, and we love those courts. And we're just hoping that you understand that after 40 years of a surface, we really need to improve what we have, and we're also hoping that we will delegate. We asked in March that there would be a pickleball person and a tennis person that we can work together, so we make sure that there will be a multi-use court down there, that everyone is happy and living and playing together. Thank you very much, and thank you so much for improving it for this summer.
Thank you. Jim, with our bonds we just passed tonight, do we have money in there for the tennis court?
Yeah, there is money allocated. I don't have the exact figure, as part of the public buildings and grounds to resurface the tennis courts themselves. We had a larger project that we're looking at, which was about $250,000, which would have been resurfacing all the courts, replacing the fencing, the lighting, everything. But we did allocate funding because we weren't able to get the U.S. Tennis Association grant. Quite frankly, because we were going to use it for pickleball or mixed use, they said no. So that's probably where Ms. Schlesinger heard the federal grant painting and taping thing.
Right.
But we do have funds put away. I don't have the exact figure, but it is going to be allocated.
So I want to tell everybody that the bonds we passed tonight, they have money in there for the tennis courts. So,
It's called the courts.
okay, it's called the courts or whatever.
Tennis.
You know, and I don't know that, and I didn't want to tell you that, because I didn't know what the figure was. It could be 10 grand, it could be $110,000. I don't know what the figure is. So we'll get that number out to you guys, and then we'll go from there. But we definitely have money put away for the out of our bonding we did tonight.
Is it possible, after Labor Day, when the tennis shack closes, for the nets to be left in the CER building?
I don't see why not. We could have them set there, and Mr. Mogan or Monero, one of those people, will have access to them. That's a non...
It's the best, right now, that's the best, because they can't be done the courts are not going to be done by Labor Day.
Yeah,
So I'm just trying to come up with some kind of a solution.
There's 20 pounds of fees, and we're carrying them in and out. I'm not paying this.
Right.
I should pay. But I haven't paid it.
Right.
Okay.
I was just trying to offer a solution.
I like that. But we have to work inside and do all of that, carrying the costs. It's still
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
I'm Greg Lavin. I'm the voice of reason among a couple.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear your name.
What was that again, sir?
She's my wife.
You're in trouble now.
I'm sorry, Greg.
Nothing new.
Could you repeat your name? It didn't come through clearly. We just need it for
Greg
record.
Lavin.
Thank you.
And your address?
222 Hagen Road, here in Brigantine. I would want to know if a study should be done to determine how much it would cost to install 4 pickleball courts, resurface all the tennis courts, and figure out how much money we have in our kitty for this, and how much more we need. Let's say it's $2 million. 10-year bonds, 4%, it's $120,000 a year. 20-year bonds, so 10,000 a month. It's not a lot of money to bring this community to anywhere near some of the other communities. Ventnor can put into in 3 months. Ocean City has like 26. We're not Ocean City, I know that. Margate is putting in another 4, or just put in 4. We have 4 that we put together with tape. We literally line it with tape, and the tape, rain comes up, ruins it. We had chalk, and that would last for 1 storm.
Right.
I don't mind doing it. We're going to continue to do it because I like playing it outside. But again, it comes down to the fact that we look kind of below par. This is a community that's growing and growing. They sell a house, they tear it down, put up $1 million mansion. Are we going to continue to have that in this area? Are people going to come here and not have the amenities they could have for the same amount of money someplace else? I doubt it. So you guys got to do something. I mean, it's only a bond issue.
We passed bonds tonight where...
No, but the first thing we got to do is dedicate yourselves, you're going to do it. And I haven't heard that, okay? I'm hard of hearing, but I haven't heard that.
Well,
And I also haven't heard you've done a study on it to find out how much it would cost and how you're going to fund it. Okay? I like the answer tonight. I mean, not a lot to do. I mean, but if you could do that, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Doring will be back. I will be talking to him along with the city manager, to find out what the cost we have coming and how much money we have in our bond. You know, I can't get to the money till I open the drawer. That's all I can say.
And Greg, I'd like to tell you right now, if you want to hear it, I'm going to say it right now, because if Andy Simpson said there's money in this new bond ordinance to get it done, I'll tell you right now, we're going to do it. Okay, we're going to do it. And the next thing I'd like to say, I'd like to ask that, you said that you have to pay, that you're carrying the nets and everything from the thing, and you're paying for that, and you should be paid. Well, I'm going to ask that we waive pickleball fees here for the rest till Labor Day. No? Greg. Yeah. Well, listen.
What we're asking for is for the committee to just give all of the members of this and a proposal when you're going to do it.
I know, and I agree with you, you didn't ask for a waiver, but I'm just saying, obviously, this is the second time you've said to come out with this issue. We're going to get it done, and I don't think it's a big deal to waive pickleball fees for the next 3 weeks till Labor Day. You think that could be a possibility with this, I mean, with everything that we've gone through, and you got a petition together, you have hundreds of signatures, you've come out here for the second night. I don't know if there's any other support on here for that, asking for that.
You know, Mike, I think the issue is they want to know when it's getting done. I can't give you that commitment until I find out how much we have, and when Mr. Doring comes back, find out where he's at in the process of it, and then I can give you a date. But
I'd just like to say also, being on the Recreation Board, this pops up just about every meeting that we have when I go to the Recreation Board hearing. So we're going to have our nose to the grindstone on it. And like the mayor was saying, we'd love to be able to give like definite time frame, but unfortunately we just can't right now. However, we did pass we had the public hearing and adoption today for this nearly, $8 million in bonds and 1.6 million appropriate to a variety of projects. I mean, there's roadway improvements this is just regarding the construction of various improvements, repairs for the grounds, recreation areas, and specifically the tennis courts are also mentioned. So it's noted in there. We're gonna be hands-on with it, and I'll be always open to any phone calls, emails, or any way you want to get in touch with me about it. I thank you very much.
My name is Howard Schlesinger. I also live at 1006 Bayshore with my wife, Deb. My point is, I know that you guys are very well aware of the situation. It's been neglected for a long time. Tennis courts seem to be well behind where the bocce ball courts were for many years, and the usage is going up, as this gentleman was saying. What I haven't heard is a strategic plan. And as someone said, people are now moving to Brigantine as retirees. They're building beautiful houses. They go to luxury resorts for the winter. Pickleball is a big thing. Tennis is a big thing. And as a more affluent client comes into the island who plays tennis every Saturday and Sunday, and we're challenged for enough courts, and the pickleball community is growing and getting much more relevant in what people want to do after a certain age. It's a fun game to play, but we're not set up to do it. And no one, from what I've heard tonight, there's money approved, you don't know how much. It's something that comes up in every meeting, but no one has said there's a strategic vision for what should it be. Should there be 4? I drove down tonight from Cherry Hill. There are 6 pickleball courts that were just added 2 years ago in Cherry Hill, separate from the tennis courts by the soccer fields. Those courts are in use all the time. It makes living in Cherry Hill more desirable. We can make Brigantine more desirable by adding nicer amenities so that people don't have to carry their own nets from the shack, that people aren't embarrassed by the quality of the courts. I go on a bike ride to Margate, and my wife says, "Excuse me, I got to go off the boardwalk for a second." She takes pictures and brings them back. Those courts are redone every 4 years. And tennis has been neglected, and all that we're pleading for tonight is you think strategically. We would love to see 4 dedicated pickleball courts if it makes sense. Not taking away any tennis courts, because you know what? On any given weekend, we're using 6 or 7 courts at a time. And everyone's vying for the same space, and there is more space available where the old dog park used to be to put some additional dedicated pickleball courts. If you want to make the island attractive for people to think about year-round, and more than just July and August, pickleball and tennis is a great way to do that. But think big, long-term, strategic, what should it be, not just trying to patch and redo what's there now, because it's not going to work for the next 10 years. That's my appeal to you. What is the long-term plan? And I don't think you guys have a long-term plan.
Well, sir, including that is the surveying and everything else. I mean, we're going to sit down and, there will be a plan. We're not just going to go in there blind, there will be a plan. And like I said...
We would like to know what your plan is, and we would like to be involved with... We would like to know what the plan is, when we would like to be involved in the plan, and we'd like to work together as a pickleball, tennis ball community
And you will
to
be involved.
Thank you.
And Howard, you were talking about a long-term pickleball plan? Long-term court plan, okay.
We're not sure 8 tennis courts is enough. We're
Right.
not sure that 1 dedicated pickleball court is enough.
Right.
Someone's got to think about 4 pickleball courts and redoing 8 tennis courts.
Okay. I just wanted to...
They will be used, and we will gladly pay you, ready for this, $10 an hour for quality facilities.
Well, I just wanted to say I agree with you 100%. Brigantine has changed over the last 7 years, and we are now a 70% second homeowner community. And, people are coming to Brigantine and investing and buying in Brigantine. There's over 80 houses under contract right now as we speak. And I know the numbers on what it costs to put a pickleball court in, as I have friends in Margate that were involved in it. It costs about $45,000 a court. So until we get the numbers, we can't tell you exactly how many pickleball courts we're going to put in. But when it comes to long-term planning, I can tell you that Andy Simpson and the rest of the people that have been around it for a while, they plan long-term. We've lowered our taxes. We haven't had a tax increase in 5 years. So, thank you.
Oh, it's on.
I think he's got you, Mike.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Robin Stoloff, 201 East Brigantine Avenue. I've had a house here for about 12 years, and since that time I've been playing tennis with this wonderful group of people, which Deb organizes for us. Thank you, Deb. And it's just a great facility. We have a wonderful time. Long overdue to get the courts resurfaced, and don't want to push my luck, but while we're at it and while we're surveying, I've played on so many courts in this community: Ocean City, Margate, Ventnor, Stone Harbor, Avalon. Every single one of them has a dedicated area for bathrooms. We are using porta potties, hot porta potties, and I was told, well, just go across the street to use the facility there. And first of all, it's a walk, and in the middle of a game, it kind of takes a long time to do that. I talked to one gentleman who has prostate issues, and he said, I ain't making it over there. So we really need to really look at that whole facility. It's beautiful, and as everyone's saying, if people are moving to this area and spending millions of dollars on their homes, they don't want to use a porta potty. That's almost insulting to
Robin,
ask
you're
people to
absolutely
do
right.
that. Thank you.
I just had a meeting with the city manager about putting bathrooms all over the city at our beach entrances and stuff like that, and be a great...
So that will be part of the plan if we're redoing the whole recreational area. I would think that
comfort
bathrooms
areas.
would be part of it.
Yeah. with showers in it and stuff like that, so.
Oh, well, we don't even need that. We just need
Well-
just a bathroom. That's all we ask.
The beach goers and everything
Just
like that, if we're, we're...
So I just wanted to make that point, because since I've been going there, I've been saying,
Yes,
oh, gross.
absolutely right.
No one really
Porta
wants to do
potties
that.
are over,
Yeah,
Especially if-
we should be past that now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Hi, my name's Kathy Kritz-Kristoff. I live at 850 West Shore Drive, and I am a tennis player, but one day I will also be a pickleball player, for sure. I just want to thank Debbie and Howard for all they've done, but I also want to point out that they play on the weekends, and some of us play during the week. And I play with a ladies brigantine tennis group that plays Tuesdays and Thursdays. My husband and other gentlemen play with the men's group that also plays on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's not just a weekend problem. We are scrounging for the courts. We were scrounging for them before we dedicated one or two for pickleball. And no one likes to argue with their neighbors. And what about the visitors that come and want to be able to play?
Absolutely right.
So I do agree with Howard. We do need a strategic plan. It's not just a one-time weekend kind of overcrowding. We want to be able to play tennis. We want the pickleball players, and I want to be one of them one day, to be able to play pickleball. We want the kind of community that we're proud of, that people not only enjoy having homes here for, but also visitors that come here. So I'm really hoping that rather than do a patch kind of, we'll find the money to fix this court or to make one of them, give one of the courts away, down the line, all this is just going to grow. That's what happens everywhere. We have to have a future plan. So
What I
wanna-
promise you guys is, once I find out the money, once I talk to John Doring, I'll reach out to Howard, and we'll sit down and talk, and see where we're going with it, and see how much money
And
we have.
please,
I don't want a patch job
and
either,
just-
believe me.
Yeah.
I'm your neighbor down the street, so if you know where I live.
Absolutely, and I was at your house
Yeah.
not that long ago.
Yep. So,
Really,
there's nothing I want in the town to be a patch job. Like I just said, instead of porta potties, we're gonna do bathrooms now. I talked to the city manager and the city engineer about them, We gotta put it in the budget, But we gotta control spending, but we have to, I'll reach out to you and say, this is what we can do right now, and then we'll talk to the future. Just like when we plan our budget here.
Okay.
It's a 5-year budget. It's not this year, next year. It's 5 years out, so we know where we're going. So,
That's terrific.
control
and-
expending, all this...
And the more voices and the more
Absolute-
ideas, the better.
Absolutely.
I just-
But I can't have everybody coming up with ideas. I'll reach out to Howard, and
I would ask, since they play on weekends and we have
I don't care
very-
about weekends during the
Right.
day,
But we have two
it's
groups.
important
We have
for
two
all
other groups.
week.
We have two other groups that are made up primarily of residents.
Absolutely.
The women's group has been around
Residents,
for years.
down for the day,
men's
I don't
group.
care.
I'd say just elect somebody from each of those groups,
Well-
because they have a vested interest too.
Okay, but,
We're talking two more groups.
Okay, we get a lot of people involved, it moves very slowly, so...
I'll be happy to
Okay,
give our names
great, okay,
and the head of the men's group.
great, thank you, Kat. We get the message. And, like I said, I promise you, I'll reach out to you. Kat, you want to be involved, that's fine, but we'll come out with a strategy and go from there. How much money we got now, how much money we could budget in the future. So it might be 2 pickleball courts, then 4, then 6, whatever the case may be at that given time. But we have to give it to the tennis courts and the pickleball people. I know you guys don't want to combine into one, you want a separate area and stuff like that. That's a lot of money. So.
And is there
Yeah.
an initial
that was set forth by Kathy doing the official plan that allows for dedicated pickleball courts, a multi-use court, meaning that those nets that they bring out could be used.
I don't want you guys bringing out nets and all this stuff. Let's just put it up and do it right. Let's do it right. Carrying 20 pounds around, it's crazy. I want you guys have your pickle court, have your tennis courts, the hockey courts. We don't tell the people to bring out nets there, so there's no reason for you guys to bring out your nets. Anybody else?
I don't play pickleball or tennis, so...
Okay.
Get out of here.
My name's Janice McGowan at 3701 Atlantic Brigantine Boulevard. Mr. Sarah kind of stole my thunder a little bit there. I had talked to him last week about the trash problem on Atlantic Brigantine Boulevard. About 15 years ago, I was in here, and there was talk about opening the Brant Beach Road for four-way vehicles, or four-wheel drive vehicles to come up, and I brought a prop in the form of my infant daughter to the meeting, and it had a lot of impact on people when I brought her and said I didn't want her to be run over by vehicles on Brant Beach. So I decided today I was bringing my prop since it might have some kind of impact. But what this is the trash I've picked up in my yard in a 5-day period that blows across from the dump. It's also coming across from the cove, from their trash cans. I'm getting big boxes, cartons that are used to bring food in that are coming across. I didn't bring the cartons with me, but there's obviously, I know we live across from a dump, and I knew that when we purchased our home, but I didn't know that I was going to be getting parts of the dump on my front lawn. And it goes up and down the road there, and I see other people that have the same problems. So I am asking, number one, the gate has been left open quite often, and that makes it real easy. Maybe to police the back alleys there and make sure the trash is well secured in the back. We have a very windy area there. It's blowing across, it's coming across the road, creating hazards. And also that possibly we can, there's fencing there that's rolled up, I see, that is higher than the current fencing in front of that new maintenance building that's there. I'm not sure why it's still rolled, but maybe they need a higher fence to contain the trash. We're getting plastics, we're getting styrofoam, we're getting all the things that everyone wants to keep out of the waters. So we need to contain the trash a little bit more. I won't show you my trash, but I'll take it home and dispose of it properly. And also, I'd just like to thank the police. Being on Atlantic Brigantine Boulevard, the traffic there is horrendous on a regular basis with the speed of the vehicles, and I appreciate your job that you folks do in stopping the speeders. You ever want to sit in my driveway, you have my permission. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Kathy Rachel, 1301 Ocean Avenue. On behalf of the dog park users, we just want to say thank you that the drainage project has been successful. On some severe, after big severe rainstorms, the dog park is now dry instead of a swamp. It's a big improvement, and the lock has been fixed. So we really don't need anything else for the dog park except continued basic maintenance such as grass cutting and trash removal. As you know, the dog park, initially all the equipment was purchased by donations, no cost to the Brigantine taxpayers, the original equipment for the dog park. And we really have very small needs, and we really appreciate not having a swamp for our dogs to play in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy.
Hi, I'm Richard Coppola, 5230 Lagoon Boulevard. I'm really part of the pickleball group, but I just wanted to, as I watch this pickleball thing continue to grow with tennis, pickleball, bathrooms, and so on, I've been playing bocce for 26 years here, and since you're talking about surfacing, I just wanted to let the council know that playing bocce on those courts is like playing bocce on the moon. And if you're going to do any surfacing at all, there's only 4 courts there. They're 5 feet wide, 80 feet long. And if there's anything that can be kind of a layover from what you're planning to do for the pickleball and the tennis, it probably wouldn't be that much to do something or have someone at least look at the condition of the bocce courts. There's 4 there. There's two leagues going all the time, and I think we have probably well over 100 people, and both leagues operate pretty much independently without much help from anywhere. So if you're going to talk long-term, it's a surfacing project, and that's it. There's nothing more that needs to be done. We appreciate everything else that was been done over the years, but I said after 26 years, it is like bocce on the moon.
Is it this year you find that the surface of the bocce ball courts have deteriorated?
Especially the outdoors, where we have the cover, they're a little bit better, but there's, there's 4 courts 80 feet long and 5 feet wide. So
Okay. It's understandable because our official bocce ball surface consultant, she's retired from the league now, Philomena, so she hasn't gotten back to us.
Well,
So that could be a reason.
For those that don't know Philomena, she's 103.
And she just
I think
finished up
everybody
playing
knows
this
her.
year.
I think
thank
it's
you.
102, but...
Duly noted, sir. I mean, I was down there the other day, and I was talking to some of the people playing pickleball. There was a couple out there who was playing pickleball, and I was just checking everything out. I got a number of pictures here. I was talking to City Manager Bennett, and, I mean, like I was saying earlier, like, we will have a plan. I mean, there's going to be a site plan and surveying and everything else, and, I mean, I know right now, and down there, people are, they want to see things happen as quick as possible, and you can't blame them. But I did see exactly what you were talking about regarding not just the bocce ball, a couple other things that need to be taken care of there.
There's
maybe a little bit more of a
There's great
quicker
activities going
nature.
on here. There's just great activities going on here. It's a super island, and I think it just needs a little tweaking in a few places like that. And if you're talking all that resurfacing of the other areas that I mentioned, this would be like nothing.
Right, and at the same time, Public Works does certainly a very good job, just like there were some problems with the roof, and they took care of that in the covered area, and maybe there's a couple other little things we can take care of, but up the road is in the short term, that is, up the road, we'll get to it. It's going to be it'll be a project, but we'll definitely have everybody, have as many people involved as we can.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rich.
Gail Sikorsky, 26 Surfside Road. I just wanted to thank you all for hearing all of our North End dog user comments and requests to maintain the beach as it is. A lot of us are over 55, have back and foot problems, and being able to walk on the soft sand with the ocean breeze versus walking on the hot pavement means a lot to us. So we thank you for your support, and we'll continue to maintain and keep the beach cleaner than we find it, which is what us regular 7 to 9ers do. So thank you again.
Thank you. Anybody else? Ann, are you going to talk about pickleball?
That's right. I think pool's your game, right?
I know you used to play a lot of tennis, Ann.
No, I have 3 questions. First, I guess, Mayor Simpson, you would probably like to tackle this first. Please update the public on your stated proposals to address the problems at the Cove. Number 1. Number 2, is the new short-term summer rental ordinance being enforced successfully? And 3, and this item has been on the back burner here for some time, so I think it should be brought to fruition. It's the issue of shared services with the independent groups using city property in order to clarify and determine the responsibilities, the financial accountability, and the legal liability of all the participants. Sounds like good management if this is done and it makes sense. So I would like to hear what you have to say to all 3 of those questions.
I can speak about the Cove.
Okay.
I usually walk the Cove every weekend, talk to people, along with our police chief and our Coast Guard and our Marine Police out there, and along with the city manager's office. They have been bringing up more patrols. It's been a lot better down there. There was a little incident over the weekend about somebody tearing down an American flag and jumping on it, and we won't stand for that either. But the codes, as far as I understand, and we're having a meeting tomorrow with the Coast Guard, the Marine Police, city manager, chief of police, my deputy mayor, and Mike Reardon with these people, and we're staying on top of it, and we're going to come up with a plan over the winter for the 4th of July. Seems like that's the problem. So
Well, do you consider alcohol the primary concern?
Well, like I said, we have DWI checkpoints down there. We have the police. There's at least 3 cars down there at all times, I see. And we're going to continue to work on it. And, you know, like I said in my article, we don't want to screw up paradise, but we're not going to allow somebody to come over here and trash our island up. Or, you know.
Well, since alcohol is prohibited, are you acting upon that and enforcing that law, state as well as municipal?
There's the police chief right there.
Yes, you are, Ms. Phillips. Actually, last weekend, we wrote 4 citations with that alone. So, I mean, we have regular patrols down there. I mean, our Class 1s or Class 2s, they do regular checks down there. I mean, they have other parts of the island they have to take care of also. But the Cove is their main focus, the Cove and the jetty. And there is a zero tolerance for it, and then they've been issuing summonses when they see it, so.
Okay, the key word I think is tolerance. In other words, no tolerance is the policy.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and the next one concerns, I guess, what the, sort of the animal house ordinance in terms of short-term rentals, and how is that being enforced? Last time I asked, it was the police department that was in charge of enforcing this?
Well, the police and our
Fire prevention.
property management with Jack Murray, firefighter Jack Murray down there. I have talked to the people at 20th Street, which were the main complaints. They haven't had any complaints this year. We just had a 3rd Ward meeting. Well, I was just at a 3rd Ward meeting, and the one gentleman said he had no problems down there. Well,
There's been no notification to the fire prevention department.
right, okay. I'll have the city manager find out tomorrow if there's any complaints and how they've been handled.
I got a list of the, not to interrupt Mrs. Phillips's, but I got a list from the police department of all noise complaints called in to the entire island between June 1st and the end of July, and there wasn't anything listed on 20th Street. The closest was 24th Street. These are calls that come into the police department, which we know, and the chief will verify every call that comes in is logged, whether it's acted upon, summons issued, unfounded, or whatever, it's logged. So there weren't any in that system for that time frame.
Okay, well, good to hear it. Okay, and the third one, and this came up at the Garden Club meeting a couple of months ago, and of course the Garden Club voted to go with the city, but I believe the city solicitor, Mr. Cerny, had some paperwork that he had done legally regarding this arrangement between the city and these independent groups that use city property. He didn't want to call it a draft, but I think it sort of leans in that direction. But that was months ago. So where do we stand on this? If
Well, I
he was
think it's a little unfair since Mr. Cerny's not here tonight and he has a family matter to take care of. So maybe we can ask them in the next council meeting when he's here.
Yes, well, I think that's something, as I said, it's been hanging fire for some time, and it would seem to make sense to complete it,
Okay.
and it would benefit both the groups and the city and the taxpayers in putting things in order properly. So,
Okay.
yes,
Well-
I'll be glad to, but in the meantime, somebody please make him, when he's ready, to see what he has.
And hopefully he's back next council meeting and we can ask him that.
Well, I hope you'll ask him,
Yeah.
because this is
Yeah.
council's decision, yes.
As you said, we'll ask him.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Have a great night. Anybody else? Seeing none? I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor? Aye. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming for our pickleball night, our dog night. And I appreciate all the input and everything, and hopefully we can move forward. And have a good night. Take care.
Stay dry.
A lot of good stuff.